Yeah, let's go. Good morning, Graybeard followers. Welcome to our show. Hey, what's going on, Wayne? I'm Ernest Sharp. I'm here with my good buddy, Wayne, and he's somewhere in the universe. I don't
Yeah.
know where he is right now.
Good morning,
But normally
everybody.
when we start, normally Wayne's the one that starts the show, right? He decided to dump
Well,
coffee on me the last.
I don't want
Yeah,
everybody to think that, it's just me, right?
it is just you, Wayne. That is
Yeah.
the reason for the season.
Yeah, yeah.
But uh, but hey, welcome to Great Beers. I'm looking for a very interesting show today. Uh, the pre-show, in most cases, is better than the actual show. We need to start
Yeah,
recording that, is what
yeah.
we need to do. We need to start recording that kind of stuff.
Yes, we
So,
do.
so here we go. Usually we start out, try to get on some current events,
Yep.
which
Well,
I'm oblivious to. Go
number
ahead, Wayne.
one, the number
Number one.
one is obviously the Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs, right?
Okay.
The Supreme Court rule. It was, hey, I got it, right? But it is the humor that I find is the TDS is so, if you don't know what TDS is, Tango Delta Sierra, is Trump derangement syndrome, right? And I ain't
Hmm.
gonna say I mean I'm not a big Trump fan, but I like what he's been doing. I like this where he's at. America first is what I subscribe to, right?
Hmm.
Being
Yeah.
in that sense. And the Supreme Court just, no, you can't do what you've been doing under the, what is it called? He got shot down under the section 122, right? Which
Hmm.
is the IECP or whatever that is. That's what he was using to um, do what he's been doing, right?
You're talking about with the raising and lowering of tariffs, there's
Right.
some regulation out there that governs that.
There is. He was using it under. There is this program. It was Emergency Economics Act or something like that,
Hmm.
where it gave him some. He believed that he could be doing. He was able to do what he was doing under that emergency, you know, e- economic emergency economy economics, whatever economy, whatever. Where he was like, we're in a world of hurt. And he's upset, rightfully so, in my opinion, that he didn't win the court battle, right? And Trump is not used to losing anything. I don't think he takes it very well, and I can appreciate that. None of us do. If you're a fan of losing, then I don't know what's wrong with you, but
Right.
he is
Yeah.
not. So,
Hmm.
so now, effective immediately, this is from the White House. Says effective immediately, all national security tariffs, Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs remain in place and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. President Donald
Hmm.
J. Trump. That's from the White House.
Right. Okay. All right. So his original um regulations was vetoed by the Supreme Court. You
Right.
can't do it that way, right?
Right. So there's
Whatever
other
act.
ways. So he's
Yeah.
doing it
So he
another
went
way.
another way to say, okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna do it on the section. Let's just go section 8. We're just throwing some numbers out there. So, all right. The tariffs. First I was like, yeah, the tariffs are good. I like it. Then, I saw some stuff about some of these smaller business suffering from tariffs. And then I questioned the way they were being used, right? Until I was enlightened. And once I was enlightened, I was like, oh, well, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
We do a lot of favors for a lot of countries, right? They've been taking advantage of us for years. All right. So one hand should wash the other hand's back, right?
Hmm.
Trump wants this, or America wants this, and these nations they have no hesitation with saying, no, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah,
Wait, we've been giving you a favor with these tariffs. We've been letting you basically rob us for decades. Then we asked you for this, and you're like, nah, okay. All right, we'll play by you guys' rule. I'm putting these tariffs back. We're gonna make this
yeah.
tariff.
Well, and
We're gonna, yeah.
you're absolutely right, and that's the biggest thing that these people don't understand is he wants fair and equal trade.
Hmm.
If you want to
Hmm.
sell your stuff in my country and I want to sell stuff in your country, but you're putting these huge tariffs on me to sell in your country, but you don't want me to tariff your product that you import, this cheap garbage that we keep getting shipped in out of where you pick a place. I want to say China, but
It's a
and
good
then
place to pay.
you know, and then of course, the people that because we've become so dependent on these other products from other countries because we've gotten to be a dependent economy, right?
Yes.
People
Uh,
don't we don't produce nothing here per se, but we do. But it's like you want these high wages, right? How are you going to make this is what baffles me. I'm not an economist or whatever
yeah. Hmm.
economic. I'm not an economic guru, but it just stands to reason, right? Let's take, for instance, your lawn business, right?
Hmm.
Your side hustle.
Hmm.
You want your customers to pay you a fair and equitable um,
Yeah. Salary, wage.
wage,
Yeah.
if you
Hmm.
will, for your services, right?
Right.
You're a service industry,
Hmm.
right? But they got someone else that comes in from somewhere else. Doesn't matter where. They're out of state. They're a big company. They come in, they move in, and because they're going by volume, right? They're cutting you by they're going to go. I'm going with this guy over here because he's say $10 cheaper, and all they want is their grass cut, right? And they don't get the quality that you provide them for that extra $10, right? The reliability or what have you. It's like the big box store theory.
Hmm.
If I can sell in volume, I can drop the price. Mom and pop, they have just one shop that's selling their wares, but they don't sell the volume, so their prices are going to be higher. But they're employing 10 of your neighbors, right,
Hmm.
to do their little business. And the problem is people don't give a crap about small business until it's their business that fails and they're out of a job where they were making a decent wage. Now they're stuck going to, say, Walmart to be a greeter at half the price and they can't understand, well, I can't make a living. There's no jobs around here, right? We all do it. We all find, uh, try to buy the best for in our means, right? But they won't hesitate 1 minute to go get their Chick-fil-A, sit in the drive-through for 4 hours to get a stupid chicken sandwich for $15. It's ridiculous. But they won't go
I
to
just bought one of those for $15.
Yeah, but they won't go to the local restaurant grandmas to go in and get something to go,
Hmm.
for $16, whatever it is. I don't know.
You never mentioned this. Okay. Uh, Current president is doing kind of like your word, paradigm shift, right?
Yeah, he's trying.
He's trying. He's trying to make a paradigm shift. He's trying to change that. There's going to be some growing pains. Some people are gonna,
Yeah,
some folks are gonna suffer until it change. And then the crazy part about it is he got roughly 2 years left, and then who knows what's gonna happen after that? And they might just go back to what they were doing, you know. I mean, what you're saying, yeah, America, we got to invest in our own country. Just bottom line, we got to invest in America. We got to invest in the companies in America, small, big, medium, large, whatever they are. We got to do that. But to get off this sauce coming from the East, it's going to be painful.
Mm,
You know, I've experienced what you said. I was one of five lawn cutters on show, and a big business, a big company came down and like, we can do this for a fraction of what you're paying them,
mm-hmm.
which was a pretty big fraction, but nevertheless, put six of us out, six, however many it was of us out of business. We was gone. They was like, we don't need you guys. We got these guys, you know. So, and that's, hey, it seemed like a good thing, but you put all these bugs out of business. You
Yeah,
put you put these cats out of business. So with us going back to the tariffs, you know, um, it's gonna be some growing pains with it. Well, it's gonna hurt. From what I've been seeing, it has hurt some small businesses, But I don't really think it's the tariffs that's hurting them. Um, Personally, I think it's something else. I think inflation, whatever's driving inflation, is tariffs driving inflation? Would you say? If tariffs is not affecting inflation, whatever is doing it affecting inflation is
well,
driving the small
well,
businesses.
that's the thing. Everybody demands these higher wages, right?
Mhm.
I mean, everybody's demanding higher wages, and rightfully so. I'm not saying they're right, wrong, or indifferent, because as soon as you have to pay somebody, this is just one thing that's contributing to these inflation, right?
Mhm.
You said, your company that you go, you say, I need $25 an hour. I know that's today's standard, not a lot of money. I would have 40 years ago, I would have loved to be making $25 an hour, but I digress. So now you're as the employer, your employees are telling you, I need to make more money. I can't do this job. And you really kind of have to pay them, right? Let's just say because you have a skilled workforce, right? They want more money. And when you have states that are mandating these higher wages, I want to say it's California. Like if you're working at McDonald's, I think they're paying them like $20 an hour in this service, in that industry, right? Which was never meant to be a full-time job. It was always been part-time, employees for the most part. I worked at McDonald's, you worked at Burger King. It was all a lot of part-time people. There was a few full-time employees like managers and supervisors or whatever. But once you start having to pay that higher wages, that cuts into your profit margin, right? So that means, oh, I got to pay these higher wages. I need to charge more for my service or product that I'm producing from your labor. And this is basic economics that people just don't. First off, they don't even know who was in the Civil War. They don't know who we fought against in the Revolutionary War. This is the problem. People are not educated. They really aren't.
What you think? Why are the employees? Why do they want higher wages? I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous question, right? But
Well,
why aren't they satisfied with the wage that they're getting? What is it? If let's just say they're making $8 an hour, why do they want 20? Is the cost? I'm thinking that the $8 is no longer satisfying. The eight
well,
dollars
no,
is no longer
because
doing what $8 could do.
you'll never probably be able to do that again because everything is so inflated in cost. Look at vehicles for crying out loud. Look how expensive they are, and they're sitting there blaming tariffs that just started a year ago. And anybody with a grain of salt for a brain would know that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, vehicle prices just went crazy.
It did. Everything, man.
And
I
it
was just
just
saying,
takes, it really just takes one thing just to go, right? It's like a snowball effect,
Mhm.
right? It just starts, hey, they're getting this, how much they're getting for their car. We need to be doing the same thing. That's a large purchase in my opinion, always has been, but even the smallest things, right? They talk about eggs and groceries. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of, I hate to say this, I don't pay attention at the supermarket like I used to
I didn't
as far
either.
as the cost of things. Because I don't shop. I leave that up to my lovely spouse that she takes care of me and makes sure I'm fed and fat and happy, right?
Yeah,
So
you know,
she's
yeah,
more in tune, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything. She's more in tune with what groceries cost and stuff. And that our kids are grown, so that was a whole paradigm shift. Just the two of us figuring out what we wanted, what we needed in the house for shopping, groceries or what have you.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's that's the effect. One thing can trigger an inflation. It just snowballs, right?
right. Check this out. Something we hadn't added to the formula. A stronger dollar. If the dollar's weak, then I think that's gonna cause inflation. You're gonna need more dollars to buy stuff. You're gonna need the dollar don't
Mhm.
have the value that it used to have. There's so many freaking dollars out there. And our enemy are trying to devalue the dollar. You know what I'm saying? Our enemies are devaluing the dollar. The dollar's not as strong as what it used to be. This
Well,
global, and I think it started with us trying to be globalist and it just went wrong. But we got to have a stronger dollar and things. I mean, we got trillions of dollars out there. The more dollars out there, the less value they are, right? So we got to figure out a way to make the dollar stronger. And I think that's what this president is trying to do. And
yeah,
there are other,
you're
yeah.
right. I wouldn't say enemies. I would say our global competitors in the economic.
Can call them enemy.
There are some that view us as a
Nefarious.
as an enemy of them because we
Mm.
don't subscribe to their way beliefs or way of life or what have you. Right. Everybody, from my perspective, wants to be an American. Right. At least it
Mhm.
used to be. Right now, you got Americans that think they don't want to be Americans and they want
And
to change. They want to
that's a
change
luxury.
the way we are
Yeah.
because there have been, regardless when I was going to the grocery store and I had $100 and that was it for the rest of the month, but I needed to feed myself, my family for on $100 back in the 80s. I was there with a calculator. My wife and I were in there with a calculator. We can have one of these. We know how much. By the time we got to the register, we knew exactly what our bill was going to be because we only had so much money. Those days are, people are there. If for me, those days are gone because I knew this is not how I wanted to live my life, and I stopped spending money on stupid shit. Right? I focused more from to needs than wants. Right? And if that's needs versus wants, I've said it before on the show. Most people that have listened, I may have heard me say that. And just because I can doesn't mean I should. I'd lived that life, and I think that's where a lot of people are like they're more upset because their freaking Hulu subscription went up $10, right? Or their Netflix or whatever it is um, went up. Why, they're to them, their world has crashed because they spend, 10 of their 24 hours watching television in a day and sleeping for 12 and then, trying to understand why they can't work or don't have no,
I got a revelation Friday, and I hope I'm not. The price of food has went way up. Now, when a person like that, this gonna sound like I'm affluent, but I'm not. But usually I don't know, just like you kind of said earlier, that I don't really watch stuff like that. But when it gets my attention, when I can like, whoa, that's excessive for this meal.
yeah,
This freaking meal costs $15. Like you mentioned Chick-fil-A. What did I order? I'm looking at my damn receipt. What's on there? I mean, a cow? What's on this freaking thing? You know, shoot,
Hmm.
I didn't remember purchasing a cow. I wanted chicken. But anyway, so um, yeah, they got my attention. So now I'm like, oh, it's real. It is real. Gotta watch my damn money.
Hmm.
Stuff is going up at an alarming rate. Just like overnight, it went up. Chick-fil-A meal used to be $7. It's 15. 15 freaking dollars.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm not, I'm eating squirrel. I'm going squirrel.
And
I'm
that's
going
why,
to,
I've always relocated myself to, we typically only go out to eat once a week, maybe, right? It's
that's
like
smart.
my wife and I just recently went to Florida in the last couple of days and returned, right? It cost me in fuel to drive down there and back. It cost me, I drove down, I left here with a full tank, so that was like whatever that cost at the time. I think it was $35, right?
It's awesome.
Drove all the way to Tampa from here, which is 458 miles or almost 500 miles. And I fueled up before I came back, and it cost me $35
Hmm. Hmm.
to drive back.
Hmm.
And I still have fuel, I drive a very fuel efficient vehicle, right?
Hmm.
But it's still, I was like I'm looking at the prices per gallon, right? Even though, 10 cents on 10 gallons, that's a dollar, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Versus the other one was 40 cents more, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, so I'm still shopping around. It's going to be $4, whatever the
Yeah.
difference would have been between a
Hmm.
dollar and $4. I went where
Hmm.
it was a dollar. There's people don't even care. That's what it costs, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't, and then they don't even, because they heard somewhere I got to put the premium in their, you know, whatever. You pick a Econo box that they're driving around from Korea or wherever, and they don't even care, and they're complaining, right? It's like you could be saving money, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just people they just want to hear themselves complain. They just want to hear, and this TDS, man, it just drives me nuts. Fulton County, Georgia, your neck of the woods.
That's not my negative woods, but go
Ish,
ahead.
ish, right?
You're closer
It's
to that part
Georgia.
of it.
It's Georgia.
My negative
They're
woods
all
is
up in arms because they got a warrant for all the these boxes of votes supposedly, and um, all the votes. They're investigating voter fraud, right, in Fulton County, and they're all up in arms. This is all because it isn't gonna. What would it change, right? It won't change anything. So it's like, why even bother, right? Why
mhm.
bother go get these votes?
That's a waste of time at this point.
It will change nothing other than put an asterisk that this was an illegitimate president that was
Which one are
elected.
we referring to?
Well, Biden, right? Because he won. It
So
puts
is that the votes
question.
that they're okay? I
It'll
thought it
put
was talking about the
question.
last election.
The questions are already there. This will just, if it comes to fruition, what they're saying, the fraud of the vote, right? It could be either way, Republican, Democrat. I don't give a shit. It don't matter. If you can't have, we're no better than Venezuela when the president down there, Maduro, said, "I'm not recognizing those vote that election. I'm still president," even though he wasn't technically by the vote.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a good comparison. That's a good analogy.
Well,
That's what we're saying.
yeah, you become a third world, excuse me, a third world country if you don't have election integrity, right?
Right.
I mean,
You're
even
absolutely
when
right.
Hillary Clinton lost to Trump, that first thing out of her mouth. Ah, the vote was rigged. It's rigged, I'm telling you, right? It ain't the first time in our history where the votes were questionable, right? Who actually won. And now they got these, uh, doing all these electronic counting and stuff is just, you know,
Should the presidential election be, should the president have more time? Meaning, like, should he have 6 years instead of 4 years?
no, I don't think any of them should have more than one or two chances to be in an elected official.
You think
I
that would slow
personally,
down?
I personally think, as there's things, and I know this will probably get some heat if for those that have listened and lasted this far, that you have career politicians in there that go in there poor as shit, right? And come out millionaires after, their freaking 20, 30 years in a political office. And
Mm.
it stands to reason that there is some, what do they call that? It's not, it's not palm washing. What do they call it?
Yeah, probably palm wash.
Yeah, where
You
they
give
getting
privilege to certain information, man.
right. They
You
get
know, like,
information, they pass
yeah,
it on to whoever, right?
yeah.
And we know this is happening. It's not nothing new, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know enough of the daily duty requirements of an elected official, say in Congress or Senate or
Seems like a lot. But
um,
we know their salary is not making them rich. Okay. And so we know that, we
yeah.
know what they make. There's no way you can make, let's just say $120,000 and come out with $10 million. There's no math for that, you
Well,
know.
here's the thing, right? And I agree with you, right?
Mhm.
But I don't have a problem. Um, I got 10 minutes. I don't have a problem with them making a wage that is commensurate to their position, right? They're living in DC for crying out loud. You know how expensive it is to live there?
I'm
They
not
have they have their home and then they're in DC, right? They got to traverse back and forth.
we're paying them a salary equal to what their responsibility is. Do you think that would cut down on some of the fraud that's going on? Let's just
Well,
say a senator gets paid $1 million.
yeah, well, if you
You know,
ask me, right? If you ask
hmm
me, the state should be responsible for paying their representation in Washington.
hmm
Their
Ooh,
state that they're representing should be
hmm
responsible for paying the wage of that representative. Now they may be, I don't know. I don't know those rules, right?
hmm
But I don't think it is. I think the US government pays. I shouldn't be paying for Nebraska's US Senate representative. I should not, my tax dollars should not be paying for that. That should be the state's requirement. And it may be. I don't know.
Yeah. Man, dang, I got to expose my ignorance. Aren't there, you got, okay, don't you got two senators, let's just say South Carolina, two senators that represent South Carolina, right?
Yes.
But do they have other senators that just
Well,
do whatever they need to do?
you have
Yeah,
state senators, right? In your state
yeah.
government, you have state senators, state
And I think they
congressmen.
do. I think the state fund those, but the ones that represent your state
Hmm.
is
But
paid by the
and
federal
that
government.
should be, if you were to ask me, that should be the
Mhm.
district that you are from be funding your district representative.
Mhm. Yeah, it's probably a reason.
So
There's got to be a reason.
what is it? What was it? Lindsey Graham? Is it Graham? He's a senator or is he a
Yeah,
congressman? He's a senator,
I
right?
think he's a senator.
Right. Whatever section that whatever he's representing in South Carolina in those counties or cities or whatever
Well,
should be
he
paying
represents the
his.
whole state, though. So, they might, all the little
Right.
counties, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and
They
I
got
agree
that
with
control.
that. I think that for your U.S. representatives from the whatever state, the
They got to pay.
Congress, the Senate, whatever,
Hmm.
those salaries of those people should be paid by the state, not by me and you. I should
Hmm.
not, my tax dollars should not be going to pay for, like I said, Nebraska's, if it's South Carolina, then they should pay those salaries for the U.S. representatives, the U.S. representatives for the state, not the government.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
There may be some advantage or disadvantage. It might be something that's been worked out, you know, maybe because if every state's not equal, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
don't know. You know what I'm saying? There might be something out there. There's a reason why they're like, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna make we're gonna make you guys equal some kind of way. I don't know. We have to research that. And if anybody out there listening to us, enlighten us.
yeah. And well, that's the thing, and that's my opinion, right? It's just like everybody's got their own opinion. It would change things, right? It wouldn't help the lobbyists to lobby them because the state controls their salary, right?
See where you go.
You
Okay,
know,
makes
I
sense.
mean, lobbyists could, but then the state has more control over that representative,
Hmm.
you know,
Huh.
do
Hmm.
you, you know,
Interesting.
you, you're representing South Carolina in name, but you're getting funded by the government. So that
Good
I'm
point.
just saying that something to think
Yeah.
about. But there's some, there's a disease going around, right? Where people are, I don't like the anti-American rhetoric. I don't like it at all. If you don't like something that we're doing, there's a way to do it. You power of the vote, right? And you get these people that are hurting financially, whether because of the economic situation and where they live, right?
Hmm.
It's not easy to just pack up your shit and move to get a better job. It's not easy to do. It was easy for us in the military that because the military paid for our moving expenses.
Right.
They said, we'll pack your shit up and
Mhm.
we'll move
And
you
we
to
kept our
this.
jobs when we kept our jobs. They're like we had
Yep,
to
you
leave our
moved and
job.
you still got paid, right?
Mhm.
That was an advantage, and I appreciate that benefit. Even though I worked for the government, the military, right? But that was a benefit of, it's not like I could just, if it was up to me, I would be struggling as a young airman to move to a new location because the government wants me to work over here, not here anymore, right?
Yeah.
That would be it wouldn't, I couldn't have done it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Especially when they were like short notice, like, hey, you got to be there in 3 months or what have you, right?
Right. You
So,
know, one day, Wayne, we need to talk about, all right, you got an experience that in particular that I don't have. You did your 20, you got out and
mhm.
went straight up on the economy and
Yeah,
you
I did.
survived.
Yeah,
You know what
it
I'm saying?
wasn't
You
easy
survived.
though.
Yeah,
It
and we
was,
probably need that's a lesson that a lot of people probably need to hear.
yeah,
You know,
it,
you went from that and you had to survive for however long you had to survive, and
mhm,
then until you landed a good job. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
Well,
I've
that's
been
because, well, so just keep in mind, right, that I knew that my time was coming to an, I knew when my time basically was going to end in my military service.
yeah.
5 years out, and you'd think 5 years is not a long time, but to some people, they're like 5 years. Wow. I made it so when my time to leave military service, that financially I wasn't making any new debt. I was paying off my debt. Does that make sense? I
Yeah,
just
that
had
makes a lot of
all I
sense.
had to do when I retired from the military was make my mortgage payment. Everything else, which was not a lot at the time, in comparison to what people are paying today. Keep in mind that was 23 years ago
Mhm.
when my time, actually 22, I digress, 22 years ago, um, when my time in the military ended, right? So I had planned that. And that's the thing, people don't plan, man. They got to stop living in the now and plan for their future. They got to pay themselves,
Mhm.
right? And they don't do it. They just burn it. They're burning up their money because it's burning a hole in their pocket. We all heard that. And not paying themselves for the future, right? And there's always question, well, you know, what I've saved over the last 40 years is minuscule to some, but it'll be enough, I believe, to sustain my way of life, if you will.
How long do you estimate? I know we're short. How long could you live without any government assistance? Let's say the job is gone, your retirement from the military is gone, your other, whatever you got that's coming in from the military is gone. You just got your investments. How long do you think you could survive? You could sustain?
Indefinitely,
Okay.
because
Well,
but
that's
my
good.
I wouldn't be able to survive in the sense of what I have now, right? My
Mhm.
life would change. My life would have to change,
Mhm.
right? And um, this, I'd have to give up the double wide, and I'd have to give up, a lot of the. I mean, I don't owe any money on any of the assets that I have,
Right.
except for this double wide trailer. So,
Mhm. You'd have to downsize.
oh yeah, I definitely down. But I would do whatever. But if it got that bad, my friend, we'd all be hurting. Everybody. If it got to that point.
Yeah, I would definitely have to downsize. I would, with the money that if just totally investments,